Well, that's an interesting question. My son, who used to live near the mosque here in London, he said, "Dad, you know, I think we have a responsibility to minister to the Muslim people." So he and I went out and we're giving out tracts just down from the mosque. And I had the opportunity to get to know a number of Muslim people. And I didn't realize that Islam taught that Jesus wasn't crucified. I found a book at Western that was based on that concept that Jesus wasn't crucified and that it was an historical account. And that really sort of caught my interest. And so I thought that I should look into it further, and that's when I started to do the research to find out sort of the historical basis, how Christianity was being revised, Christian history being revised to accommodate this new Islamic theology. Well, the other books, and we've done 5 of them, we normally went to the University of Western Ontario or Victoria Park. This time what we did was that we went door to door around our church. And of the 700 interviews we did, 350 were going door to door. And it was interesting because the topic was dealing with Islam and Christianity. We had the odd person that wouldn't do the interview. But by and large, people were very receptive and they were very helpful during the interviews. Well, when I think of that question, I think of 2 Muslims. The first one would be the person who did the first interview. And he was an elementary school teacher from Libya. And it came very obvious as a result of the questionnaire, he was a man that was afraid to die. He feared death. And again, the reason being, as we had opportunities to talk, that he felt he wasn't a good Muslim. He says, "I don't pray 5 times a day." And he says, "I'm not living up to the standard." And he was afraid that when he stood before Allah, that he wouldn't qualify. I asked him once, I said, "Do you think that it's possible that Allah would send you to heaven, to hell?" And he said, "Yes, that's a possibility." I got to know him and his family. They actually came to our home and had a meal together. And so, yeah, I really found him to be a very interesting man. The second was a young Muslim that I got to know quite well. He and I spent a number of times talking at the mall. I would say that he was the most dedicated Muslim I came to know. He, instead of praying 5 times a day, he prayed 6. He would fast throughout the whole day, but his whole preoccupation was, how can I serve Allah? And he invited me to the mosque, and I went with him. And conversely, he came to our church. But I suppose that one of the things about him, that he taught me more about Islam than I'd ever find in a book. One of the things is that I found out is that the Muslims, they have their prayer beads. And he used to walk around the mall with these prayer beads. So yeah, that was, both those men, I got to know them quite well, and they certainly taught me a lot about Islam. Particularly that one has to put forth an effort. And apart from, like a difference in Christianity, we have the security that through Jesus Christ, we have eternal life. These men don't have that. I guess as an historian, I'm really convinced that history is important. Having spent most of my adult life teaching history, one of the things that I really feel is important, that my faith is an historical faith. As I read the Bible, I see that the God that I worship works in our history. Recently I was reading the book of Luke, the Gospel of Luke, and it's interesting that when John the Baptist comes on the scene, the story mentions about the fact that the Emperor Tiberius was mentioned, also, for example, Pontius Pilate, and also the high priests. So historical setting is extremely important within the scriptures. And what's equally important is that the history carries on into the first century. And my book really goes to the 381 with the Council of Constantinople. But I was trying to show that our faith has an historical basis, and that certainly gives a lot of credence to the importance of the Christian faith.